Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm your ringmaster, Bob Pompeani, and we have a lot to get into tonight. We'll talk about Andrew McCutchen. Should the Pirates try to sign him? We'll also talk about the Penguins, who lost a game they should have won last night, and Tristan Jarry's performance so far. Pitt, North Carolina. It's a primetime game this week at Heinz Field, but there's a bigger and better one coming up tomorrow at Heinz Field. And it would be the Steelers and the Bears. And that's our #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. The Steelers have a chance to be 5-3, knocking on the door at the top of the AFC North. Here to talk about it is your panel. We have Jeff Hatthorn, Sports Director, 93.7 The Fan. Below him, it's Paul Zeise, 93.7 The Fan, and the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And across from him, Chris Adamski from Trib Live, the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Gentlemen, let's get into this. Jeff, I want to start with you on the Steelers. Now, we see red flags everywhere. We saw today that Jacksonville somehow beat Buffalo. Denver built up a 30-0 lead. The Steelers should not come into this thinking anything other than we better play our game because Chicago is capable, even though the Steelers are favored. How much of a danger is there for a game like this?
Well, if they're not ready for this, I mean, how many examples do you want? You mentioned a couple of them. And every week we're talking about a new team is the best team in the AFC because of upsets or teams just overlooking or maybe proving that they're not that good. Yeah, the Steelers need to keep the same formula. I don't think they'll get ahead of themselves just because they've won 3 games, but they can't afford to. I mean, Chicago's capable. I don't think they're a very good football team, but you throw a couple of turnovers in and a couple of weird plays, and this could be a ball game on Monday.
Well, I think the big thing is the lesson you learn is that, I mean, there's so much parity in the NFL nowadays. It's amazing to me watching these teams play. And it's also, you know, a long, long season. So all these declarations of, you know, who's the best team and who's the, you know, who's going to be at the top at the end. I mean, you just kind of have to say, throw that out and let's watch how it all unfolds. I mean, last week the Browns offense looked like, you know, it looked like they wouldn't be able to score 20 points ever. Today they went up and down the field against the Bengals. The Bengals 2 weeks ago were going to be the best team, and of course, you know, so to me, today the Bengals got pounded, and last week they got pounded. My thing is, the Steelers just need to keep playing and winning football games, and let's worry about the standings at the end.
Yeah, the Steelers have 2 home losses so far this season. Of course, they're playing at home Monday night here. And the 2 home losses are to the Bengals and the Raiders. Guess who the Bears have beat this year? The Bengals and the Raiders for 2 of their wins. So, you know, one thing I do think it's a decent matchup for the Steelers, both in terms of having a young quarterback and in terms of facing these running teams. It's strange. The Steelers don't have this great run defense they used to have maybe a decade or so ago where they're just dominant against running games, but they've been really good, generally speaking, against running teams these past 2 or 3 seasons. So, but yes, we've seen so many crazy things today. I don't know what to think anymore about the NFL. Today was one of the wildest days of all. Who could have predicted the Bills losing to the Jaguars? And the Steelers, again, were kind of pumped up by having this tough schedule so far. And the Bills, the Bengals, and the Raiders all stunk today with bad losses to make the Steelers kind of look worse. So I don't know what to think anymore of the Steelers or the NFL in general.
Let's talk about a trade the Steelers made, trade deadline. Normally they're not very active, but excuse me, Paul, they traded Melvin Ingram, you know, at a position where he's nice depth. Now it's Taco Charlton, who they believe could have an impact, but quite frankly, they're not as good at that position. Did you like that trade, especially because it went to a team that they have to play and a team in their own conference?
Well, I mean, again, I don't know that you know, Melvin Ingram is the difference between the Chiefs being good and what we've seen. I mean, today, I don't know. I actually think that Patrick Mahomes has to be hurt or something. This is absurd watching that team play. But my point is, the guy didn't want to be here. The guy thought he should be a starter. The guy, you know, thought he was better than Alex Highsmith. And now, you know, he's telling people that he was misled. If a guy doesn't want to be here and doesn't want to play here, I don't know why you keep him here. Why, you know, and I know you don't want to set a precedent of guys forcing their way out of here, but guess what? It already happens, and it's happened a number of times, and it happens to a lot of teams. I mean, guys get unhappy. You just saw with OBJ or whatever his name is up there. I mean, guys get unhappy and whatever, and they force the issue, and that's what happens. I mean, so, yes, I like the trade because you got rid of a guy who didn't want to be here.
I hated the trade only because of the lack of depth behind him at that position, but I understand it. And obviously it was bad enough where the Steelers thought, even though we need him for depth and we're trying to make a playoff run this year, we had to get rid of him because it just wasn't going to work. And I guess I trust their judgment in that clubhouse, but I hated it just because they don't have the depth and there are going to be injuries. You want to spell guys. You're throwing in Taco Charlton, who is a reclamation project. Maybe it works for him here. It hasn't worked for him in other places. He's not a great cover guy. You made the defense weaker by the trade, but that must tell you how unhappy Ingram was or how worried they were about Ingram's impact, that they knowingly got rid of a guy that could have helped them.
Yeah, we've seen this over and over again around the league, around the Steelers now in recent years, of James Harrison or to a point, Le'Veon Bell. It's a different situation. Antonio Brown. I'd be interested to know or find out. We'll never know if they would have cut him if they couldn't get a 6th-round pick. I guess you look at it as a win that they got something rather than letting them go for nothing, like LeGarrette Blount a few years ago, who left them, went to a rival without any compensation whatsoever, and then helped, at least beat the Steelers or keep the Steelers in at least in an indirect way of sort of and help that team win a Super Bowl. So at least they got something out of compensation out of that. It seems like whether miscommunication, whatever it is, we'll see. As long as nobody gets hurt again, and remember, they've each missed a game so far this season, Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt. It shouldn't matter too much. But I don't know. It certainly is a drop-off. Taco Charlton, we've seen he's been cut 3 times already, and he sort of is a different type of edge rusher than the Steelers are used to. But so we'll see if it comes back to haunt them at all. I don't think it'll be a situation where he gets a big sack of Ben Roethlisberger that day after Christmas, but I guess it's on the table in some capacity. It could happen.
All right, 1 minute left in this period. 1 minute remaining in the period. So, Jeff, I turn it to you, and I want to get about OBJ. You mentioned him, Paul. Yes or no, and real quick explanation. Will he help somebody based on the fact that he has demands now on whoever takes him? He wants to go to a winning team with a winning culture, so will he ever be what he was early in his career?
Yes, I think he can help somebody. I mean, look, the Patriots took a chance on Antonio Brown. I think he could help somebody, yes.
A winning team with a winning culture, you mean like the Browns, who were actually a winning team and came off a playoff? Well, I mean, this guy's a clown. I'm sorry. I have no, whatever team he takes him, they deserve whatever they get. I think he's not a winning player. He's a me-first player. So anybody else wants him, they can have him.
I just want to see if he's the player. Now, he's certainly not producing whatsoever, even close to what Antonio Brown was producing whenever he got out of Pittsburgh those last couple seasons. However, this reminds me a lot of Randy Moss about 15 years ago, where he was just a shell of himself in Oakland from what he was in his heyday with Minnesota, and then became even better once he got to a good situation in New England. So part of me wants to say Beckham's washed up and his shoulders are bad, but maybe we'll find out differently.
Somebody's going to take a chance. That starts tomorrow, 4 p.m., the deadline there. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, on this week of coverage on KDK. When we come back, we're going to talk about another primetime game, and it's a big one for Pitt. Pitt hosting North Carolina, a team with just upset Wake Forest yesterday. We'll talk about that and break it down coming up next right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran, Go One Better, and by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.